Okay, this recording is a walkthrough of the presentation setup for the NAPLS3 experiment. The first thing that you would want to do is go to the website, which is www.beagle.net/NAPLS3. Once you're there, you can click on the presentation link under Getting Started. And once you're there, you can download the task. So if I go to that and download the task link, this should take us to the GitHub site with the tasks. On this site, there's a download zip button. If we click that, it will save it to disk. From here, you would need to copy this file over because you'd be on a computer with the internet to your stimulus presentation computer, which is not online. For this demo, I'm doing it all on one computer. A lot of the things will be the same. Okay, so now it's downloaded, and we can unzip it. So the folders that we're going to need within this folder, there should be a single task folder. We'll open that up in a second. While that is running, I'll just say a few things. One is that I'm on a Windows 7 computer, and you'll be setting this up on a Windows XP computer. Most of the things that I'm going to do will look almost exactly the same. Okay, so now in this unzipped folder, we have our task folder. I am going to copy it and put it in a better location than my downloads folder. So I would suggest putting it in your presentation folder, which is actually going to be called, in your program files folder, neurobehavioral systems. And then within the presentation folder, I'm just going to paste it in there. I'll also point out that I've got this Motion Enjoy PlayStation controller application installed already on this machine. It's basically the exact same tool as you would have installed on an XP machine. Okay, so now within this folder, there are, if I sort by type, there are two experiment files. The MCOM LTP wrap experiment is what we're going to use. So you can actually delete the GCOM. So that goes in the trash, and we'll open up the MCOM experiment and see what kind of errors it produces for us. So among the errors that I get here, you will probably get many similar ones. So it doesn't like the display mode, so that's related to the monitor. It doesn't like the sound device, and it doesn't like the output port. This is specific to Windows 7, so hopefully you won't get that message. Okay, so let's fix those things. So if you go to the Settings tab, we can start at the Port button. So you can see under Output Ports in the middle, if I click on the 1, it highlights that. So this is our one and only output port for the experiment, and there's no information in here. So we need to pick the correct port. So I'm going to pick LPT1. You will probably pick LPT1 as well, and probably won't have any other option that starts with LPT. Once you pick that, it will automatically populate all these other settings and options, and those are fine. You don't have to change any of those. So our port is now set. At each step, I'm going to save the experiment because I'm changing it now. I don't want to do this again. Okay, so next, if I go to audio, we had some problems there. This is going to look a little bit different from yours, but what you want to do is pick the SB or Sound Blaster X-Fi. It may be named slightly differently at your site, but that's the one that you want to pick. And on the left here, you want to pick DirectX hardware. So that will look more like this screen at your site. So DirectX hardware should be a radio button available to you, and Sound Blaster X-Fi or something like that should be available to you as well. Okay, so now the audio is set. Under video, there are a number of things to change. One is to uncheck this legacy mode box. When you do that, you can see I lost everything for my other settings. So I'm going to pick primary display driver, and then what I'd like to pick, but I don't have a monitor the same size as yours, is a setting that would be 1920 by 1080 by 32. The best that I can do here is 1024 by 768 by 32. So let me just hop back over here again to the web. So the option that you want to be able to pick 1920 by 1080 by 32 at 60 Hertz, and you also want to uncheck legacy mode, and the adapter should be primary display driver. Then your video settings are ready to go. If you cannot pick 1920 by 1080 by 32, that means that something's wrong, and you'll have to double check that you've got the right monitor connected, that Windows recognizes that monitor, and do some other things in your Windows control panels. Okay, so now that video is set, we can go to the response buttons. Now in this case, the PlayStation controller is connected and it recognized it, so everything is automatically set up and available. So if I go to hit the test button, I press the button on the PlayStation controller, I get scenario button 2, which is the appropriate position for that button here. So I don't really have to do anything, and in fact I'm basically all set at this point. So if we went to main and picked, let's say, the visual instructions, try to run them, it says this folder does not exist or access is denied. So let's go fix that. So under log files, under scenarios, the log file directory, it doesn't want to let me write there. So I can find some other folder that maybe it will let me write to, like my desktop, which isn't a good place to store your log files, but just to get this thing to run, let's see if that works. Okay, so let's test, and I hit run scenario, and it's going to start. So it's loaded up the stimuli, and it's ready to go. I hit enter, and it starts running. It would not start running if there was still a problem. So if I pick another one, like the practice for the mismatch, again, if the buttons or the video or audio settings were not acceptable, it wouldn't get to this ready screen. It wouldn't start running. Okay, so now I can say experiment, save experiment, close it, and we're done. I'm going to show you though now if I unplug my controller and we go open the experiment again, some other errors that you might get. So again, I'm opening the MCOM experiment. Now the controller's not attached, so now I get a number of errors. And let's see here. So it does not like, actually it still doesn't like the display mode and sound device. In addition to that, we've got all these motion enjoy virtual game controller not found errors. So it looks like on my computer it hasn't saved any of the settings that we just put in place. So the output port is still not specified. The audio has reverted. Hopefully it goes better for you at your site. Okay, so let's now look at the response. device window and problems. So you maybe notice here that there used to be an R1 button and it's not available in any of these. Down here there used to be a Motion Enjoy controller device that's not listed. So I have the application open already, but if you've got it all installed, you should be able to navigate and find a Motion Enjoy folder and a DS3 tool. If you open that up, here we're not connected to, or we cannot connect to the remote server, so we want to run it in local mode. So I click the local button, and it says waiting for controllers to be connected. So now I'm going to plug it in, and it lights up. It's connected, but the program's still waiting for controllers to be connected. If I do a quick test, vibration test down here, nothing happens. So it would seem it's not connected, it's not working, but actually if I go to the Install tab, it disappears. If I open the program again, I hit local, and now it sees the controller. And actually what I was trying to show before is if you go to the Install button, the controller's listed here and it says loaded already. So I would always double check this Install tab and see if it recognizes your controller there, because if it does, it's probably going to work. So now close that up and we go back here. If you right click, you can say re-enumerate devices, and now magically that Motion Enjoy virtual game controller appears. So now we can do this exciting task of adding the R1 button to all the scenarios. So I click R1 down here, and I click Use, and then it hops up here to the top. So right now the default has space is the first key, or first scenario button, and R1 is the second. And I'm actually going to go through and copy that to all the other scenarios. So I can say copy from default. It picks up those settings. I can right click again, say copy from default. The other option is I can click on the scenario itself and I can go down and hit use again. They both do the same thing, whatever's easier. Once that's done for all the visual runs, then we have to do a little more for the mismatch runs. So in the case of the mismatch runs, the button order is not space for button 1 and R1 for button 2. It's actually, we want to clear this, it's R1 is button 1 and space is button 2. So again, I clear, I add R1, I clear, add R1, you're getting the idea. Okay, so finally, remove that, use that. Now I have to pick the keyboard, and I have to find the space. I'm going to type space. Okay, so there it is, and I use that as my second button. So now the buttons are set up, but it's still not going to be happy because the mismatch runs all use the controller as what presentation calls a force device. So you also have to go down here, click on the controller, and this little use force button becomes available. If you click that, you see that it jumps into this window here. And I want to do that for every mismatch scenario. And so at this point I'm set up. I've got all my buttons in place and I'm ready to go. I'm going to close it up. I'm not actually going to save it because I don't think saving's working. With the controller connected, I open it back up. I'm getting these same messages we got the very first time we opened it, but I'm not getting the controller error messages anymore. So basically, if you get those messages for the response devices at the beginning of opening the experiment, you should close it, make sure the controller is attached, try to make sure it's recognized here in the gamepad tool, and then reopen the experiment. And actually, if we go back to response, you can see it's there for all these different scenarios, and it's in the appropriate place, so that it's second for audiometer and all the visual runs, and it's first for all the mismatch runs. Okay. The last thing that I want to do here is for those sites who've already done all that fun stuff with the experiment file. The latest update as of the beginning of February 2015 is now available on the GitHub site. And you don't have to redo all the experiment setup. All you need to do is download the task. I'm going to delete the one that I already downloaded. And delete this. So if you download the current version and you have your experiment folder that you've already set up previously with the older scenarios, and you have the new downloaded version, again you'll have to copy it to a USB device or something like that. I'm going to do extract all again. And what I would recommend doing is copying all the files from your new download over to your old directory except for the experiment file. And maybe the easiest way to do that is to just delete the experiment file from your download and copy everything over. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to go into that experiment file. I am going to again go by type. So here are two experiments. I'm just going to delete both of them. So now they're deleted, and I highlight everything in this folder. I drag it over to this folder, and I want to move and replace everything. So I'm just saying yes here to everything that it wants me to overwrite. And because I deleted that experiment file, it won't overwrite that. All the settings, if I was able to save it, all the settings that I theoretically saved before are still there, and there's nothing more for me to do. So that will probably take a while to copy over, maybe not. And I believe that is it for setting up your presentation experiment. Once everything is set up, of course, you should just behaviorally run through all the scenarios to make sure that they all run start to finish and don't give you any errors at runtime. And if they do, feel free to check this out again or to go to this startup page which walks